The MMA India Show.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have a very special guest on our show, Mike the Truth Jackson, who fought on UFC 225 this past weekend against CM Punk. Thank you so much, Mike, for taking the time for us.
No, thank you for having me on.
How crazy has this week been for you, considering whatever has happened in the past few days?
Man, it's been a wild week, going out there to Chicago and Phil Brooks and CM Punk's hometown, fighting in his backyard with the massive amount of just wrestling fans out there. It's been crazy, you heard the boos at the weigh-ins. If you watched the fights, you heard the boos in the crowd, but that was to be expected. I knew what I was sort of getting myself into.
Yeah, and just talking about that, did you think that you'd get that kind of a reaction from the fans?
Before or after the fight?
Before the fight.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Look, man, wrestling fans are very passionate, about their sport and their entertainment. So I had a sense of what I couldn't have prepared for it. Like, I didn't know what exactly I was getting into, but I knew it was going to be hostile territory.
Right, and just the fallout, did you kind of anticipate what was going to happen in the days after the fight?
No, not at all. What happened is there were just people who looked at the fight differently than what actually took place. You have a lot of people, and even in just current, like today's times, people are, they're outraged at any little thing. And, the way I look at life is, if there's something that possibly can upset me, well, first of all, if it has nothing to do with me, like directly, I'm not worried about it. I'm not getting upset,
Yeah.
But let's say you're a fan of the fight and you're upset about it and you really want to, if you're curious to know what happened, my thing is just ask a question, and that's what I did, or that's what they did in the post-fight interviews. A lot of the journalists, people were talking about me showboating and taunting, which I was doing none of that. Now, again, from the outside looking in, it may have looked like that, and even some of the journalists in the post-fight interviews, they asked me, and I gave them my explanation. I was like, no, I wasn't. This is what happened. Then the journalists go back and watch the fight, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, I get where he's coming from. But what happens is the fans, they don't look at all the information. They don't look at all the interviews post-fight. They just see what at that point, that snapshot in time, and then they run with it. And then you have Dana White, who basically in the same situation, but he has a larger platform, so he's upset, and then he's very emotional. And so then he runs off shooting his mouth, and then it's just a snowball effect. So the people who are kind of maybe on the fence now, like they're a fool, because again, a lot of people think what Dana White says is gospel. So they just double down on it, and that's why, we got the reaction that we got.
Right, absolutely, and we're going to talk a lot more about UFC 225, but firstly, I got to ask you, your background, you're into photography, you're a part of the media, you're one of us, basically, as a journalist. So it's a very interesting transition from that to fighting. You've had experience in the amateur circuit. How did that come about?
It's just building a brand up and being at the right place, right time, and knowing the right people. People who know I work for LFA, or a legacy that, was at one time owned by Mick Mayer, who's now the UFC matchmaker.
Yeah.
And again, it's just knowing the right people. A lot of great things that have happened for me have just sort of fallen in my lap. And it's just another one of those things.
Okay, and when you made that transition, how difficult was it for you to, capturing the action from outside the cage to actually doing it inside the cage?
I'm always training, so it's not like, I'm not in the gym and I'm not working out. Like, I'm consistently training and getting better, and I just do everything at the same time. I mean, for me, this is my life. Whether I'm training, whether I'm covering the sport, this is all I do. So as far as transitioning between the two, it's easy for me to transition. Like, it's not difficult at all.
All right, and just going into UFC 225, we've heard, the likes of Duke Rufus hyping up what CM Punk can do and all of that. What was your mentality like going into the fight?
Well, that's what they're supposed to do. Like you're not, as a fighter, as a coach, you're not supposed to come in with the loser's mindset. You're supposed to come in knowing that you're going to win a fight. Like if you're going into a fight not knowing you're winning or not knowing you're going to win, then what's the point of getting into the fight? You know what I'm saying? Outside of, like, I guess, a check or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I 100%, felt that, Duke Rufus and all these guys, they felt that they prepared, Phil Brooks to the best of his abilities, and they felt that, he was better than me. But, realistically, I told people what was going to happen, before the fight, and it wasn't, and that was the thing, is like people looked at it as I was being disrespectful. And I was 100% respectful about the guy. And I still, to this day, am 100% respectful because, again, I know what it's like to make that walk.
Right.
The people who sit out here and talk bad about Phil, for his willingness. Look, now, does he belong in the UFC? No, he doesn't. But he still deserves a ton of respect just for his willingness to, again, no one's forcing him to do this. He decided to do it on his own. And so I 100% respect that because, again, I know what it takes to make that walk. Right. But in his mind, I feel that he felt that he could beat me. I feel that he felt that he had more skills. He could get it to the ground. And maybe he doesn't feel like he was a better striker than me. But I think he felt, with his abilities, he could have gotten this fight to the ground and he could have submitted me. But like I said, I felt I was going before the fight. I felt I was better everywhere. During the fight, I felt I was better everywhere. And then following the fight, my action spoke Saturday night.
Right, absolutely. And the other thing is, most of the fighters say it's during the first exchange that you can gauge what your opponent is like. And we've seen when the action started, CM Punk kind of threw those leg kicks where he was spinning around. He was not looking technically very sound. What went through your mind at that point of the fight?
Well, I mean, it just sort of looked like that because, again, he's at the level he's at. That's just a technique that he knows, and that's just, again, you can only learn so much in a given period of time. But yeah, nothing surprised as far as the striking. I knew where he was, so I wasn't surprised. And again, anything that he had for me on the feet, I was more than prepared for.
Right, and after the fight, while people say, as you said, fans have their own opinions, but once you looked at CM Punk, his face was battered. It never looked like, you were taking it easy on him. Were you taken aback by the comments that followed after the fight?
I was, now I get people are upset that I didn't finish him, and so the way I looked at it, I wanted the first round finish, and I know I hurt him a couple of times in the first round, but again, I didn't want to run in and get caught with something, Right. So I was a little bit more cautious, and again, I knew what was at look. For me, literally, everything is at stake in this fight in my life as far as what I do as a profession. Look, if I lose to CM Punk, now I can still go out here and I can take pictures and stuff, but it would never be the same for me again in my life if I were to go out here and lose this fight, So yeah. As far as my mindset and game plan, I was more cautious and strategic with everything, given that, this wasn't like a contender fight where we're moving up the ranks and yeah, if I lose, then okay, I'll lose and I can take some more fights and bounce back. This wasn't one of those fights. If I lose, that's it. Right. There is no redo. This was my redo after the Gall fight. And so as far as my strategy for the fight, I looked at it as such. So for me, look, I went out there, I landed some hard shots. And he never went. I never took him off his feet. Yeah. So following the first round, I was just like, well, I can go out here and keep beating this dude up, and hit him with some heaters, and maybe I get the knockout or whatever, or I can just go out here and have fun. Because that's what I said. This fight was about having fun and being entertaining the crowd. It wasn't about
who's going to get a title shot or who's going to move up there. It wasn't that. This is a different kind of fight as opposed to like Curtis Blades and Alistair Overeem type of fight, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like I wanted to have fun. And I wanted to sort of put my skills on display. And I felt I did that. I showed the superior striking. I showed the counter wrestling. I showed the counter jiu-jitsu on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, I did what I planned to do. And I couldn't have gone out there and just gotten caught with something stupid.
Right, absolutely. And do you think there's this certain level of disrespect in this sport that if the fans don't understand what's happening, they immediately kind of crap all over the fighters?
100%, because again, like that's the thing is like it's like if people are unfamiliar or don't know what's going on, then it's like it's bad. You know, people are legit mad at me because I didn't finish him, and I was like, why are you mad that I went out there and beat this dude up? I got a 30-26 on all the scorecards. You know, I don't understand. You know, now again, I carried the guy. I could have knocked him out, but why? Why put him through all of that? Why leave him face down on the mat for his fans and his family to witness that? You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't really, you know what I'm saying? This was just a spectacle of a show.
Right.
You know, and so in my mind, I'm just like, let this dude make it out of here. Go out with some pride. Go out with some dignity. No one wants to leave out on a stretcher because that's what could have happened to him.
Right.
But I didn't want that there was no need for that. You know, nothing was going to change if I knocked him out or if I didn't. It wasn't like I was going to become a champion or I was going to move up the ranks even more if I had finished him as opposed to not finishing him. You know what I'm saying? And people are just, it was a catch-22. It was like, well, if I knocked him out, well, then I expected to knock him out. Then you didn't really do anything. But since I did knock him out, now I suck because I couldn't finish the 39-year-old wrestler. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I did it for me.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't about the fans. It wasn't about Dana White. It was about what I wanted and what I was in there to do.
Right, for sure. But Dana White's comments after the fight, did it kind of, surprise you? Because he's putting one of the biggest draws in the UFC right now on a pay-per-view. That's basically it. He did what he was supposed to do. And he was mad at you for not finishing the fight. Does that realistically make any sense?
It doesn't. Like, if anybody, he should be mad at himself. Look, I said from the get-go, this was not a UFC-worthy fight, let alone a pay-per-view fight. I've said I've never hyped this fight up as such.
Yeah.
I've always been honest with what this fight was. And so now it's almost like, you know, I'm the one who put him on I was forcing this card on the paper or this fight on the pay-per-view. You know, I was forcing people to buy this, and I wasn't. I told people what I was going to do. Right. You know what I'm saying? So if he's mad, he should be mad at himself. And it's like all of this is falling on me. What about falling on Dana White? What about falling on CM Punk? What about that? But no, I'm the scapegoat here. You know, he's upset that, you know, I probably I cooked his cash cow. I made carne asada out of his cash cow. And I would be upset too. You know what I'm saying? But with that, you can't take it out on the person who went out there and did what I did. If you want to take responsibility for it on yourself, cool. But don't be mad at me.
Correct. And when Dana was making those comments, were you backstage? Where were you when all of that was going down?
No, I was trying to eat some deep dish pizza. I told people following the fight, I wanted some deep dish pizza. You know, that's why I wanted to have like a little after party at a pizza spot. You know, and I was literally I ordered the food and they said, oh, it's gonna take like 45 minutes. I was like, all right, cool, I'll wait. So I'm like on my phone and like I'm just seeing all of this, and I didn't even really get to. It really put a sour taste in my mouth from that point on. I only had like one slice of pizza. I was upset. You know, I really wasn't feeling it anymore, and it really I think it took away from my win. You know, in my performance. Now, if you don't like the performance, it's subjective. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? But you didn't have to degrade me the way you degraded me on, you know, you didn't have to place the blame all on me. You know, look, he wasn't in there fighting. You know what I'm saying? Like the dude is tough. You
Yeah.
can't finish everybody. You know what I'm saying? Or for me, I chose not to because it didn't do anything for it. If I'd have knocked him out, that literally wouldn't have done anything either way. I got the win. That was what was most important.
Right, and the reaction from the fans would have been completely different after the fight if you had finished him as well. So
What when we're talking about the fans?
the reaction from the fans after the fight would have been different if you had finished him as well. So what did you kind of gauge from their reaction?
The fans?
Yeah,
I mean, it's mixed reactions. It's you have the keyboard warriors, and you have the people who are upset. Oh, you should have finished him. You suck because you didn't finish him. I mean, again, that's their opinion. I can't change these people's opinion. They're clearly stuck in their ways, and they believe whatever they believe. But I can't let that dictate my life and what I go through. So like I said, at the end of the day, they're just UFC fans, and power to them.
right. And after the fight, did you have a conversation with either Dana White or Sean Shelby or any of the UFC officials?
No. I was actually waiting around for Dana following the fight.
Yeah.
And this was way before he made his comments. I wanted to just talk to him on a personal level. But again, I know he's a busy man. He has a lot going on following the fights. So I just, I end up just leaving. I was like, I'll just talk to him later. And then, then a few hours later, or like an hour later or so, I hear the comments. But now I reached out, and hopefully he gives me a call. We can talk it up a little bit and smooth this out, but if not, man, there's nothing I can do about it.
Right. And what's in the immediate future for you? Because until you know what UFC has in store, what is next for you?
Man, I don't know. It's, I'm back to just my regular day-to-day grind. I work for a couple promotions, one called Submission Hunter Pro, where we do like jiu-jitsu super fights. We're one of the biggest organizations in the country. I'll be in Lake Charles this weekend for that. And then in 2 weeks, I'll be in Nashville for another Submission Hunter Pro. Next week, I have LFA 43, I think, 42, 43, which is Legacy Fighting Alliance. We'll be out in Beaumont, Texas. So I'll be out there for that. But, other than that, just enjoying life, man.
Right, outstanding. And you've talked about Mike the Truth brand. What do you think this fight has done for your brand?
Still the jury's out on this one. I felt that it's definitely elevated the platform, at least a little bit. More eyes and more attention is coming to the brand that people didn't know prior. And not as much as I'd like to. Obviously, the controversy and everything taking place after has put a little damper in that. But I think once everything smooths out, it'll be a great sort of influence.
For sure. And being the guy that kind of faced a former WWE superstar, you now expect the other WWE guys to kind of call you out, which did happen with Daniel Bryan.
Man, when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is getting ridiculous now. I hear, Daniel Bryan, he's saying stuff like in a fight, I would take him on. I could take him on the ground. Like, first of all, this is not a grappling match. It will be a fist fight. So you have to encompass everything. You either can take me in the fight or you can't. Like, don't say I can take you in the fight, but only on the ground. You know what I'm saying? And I respect what he's done. I'm hearing that he has, many years in catch wrestling and he has jiu-jitsu experience, and that's cool. But you can't. I didn't come at you with this. You know what I'm saying? They came after me, and so now people are upset at me for responding. It's like you can't go at another grown man and talk shit or whatever, say the things that you have to say, and not expect me to respond. Because I'm gonna respond. And so now it's like I'm the bad guy because I responded to something he said. And I was like, I didn't go looking for smoke. I didn't go, hey, who wants to fight me next? The only comment that I made was to Artem Lobov. And the only reason I even said that is, and it wasn't even a disrespectful thing. I had made after the Gall fight, I had made a comment about fighting Artem because I think it would be a fun fight stylistically.
Yeah.
You know, so he had verbally agreed to the fight, you know, 2 years ago. So then after this fight, they say, hey, who would you like to fight? Well, I was like, well, Artem already verbally agreed. So that's why his name came out. It wasn't a disrespectful thing. He had already agreed to it.
Yeah.
And so it was a mutual kind of understanding here. So I say that, and then people get upset. And I'm just like, yo, like, I don't get it. You know, people, like I said, people really just want to get offended and be upset about things that it just don't matter. You know what I'm saying? But like, I can't help that.
Absolutely. And do you think it's also the kind of narrative that has already been set in place? Because Dana White said Artem Lobov would kill you in the post-fight press conference. Do you think people just jump on the bandwagon?
Oh, 100% people. But then, you know, the cool thing, I'm glad he said that, because now he makes that fight. People are going to remember Dana, man, what Dana said, Artem's going to kill Mike. I want to tune in and watch and see what happens. So I think for him, it was a promotional ploy, you know, and I'm not knocking it. Hey, if he thinks he's going to kill me, hey, then let's make it fight happen and see, you know, and see what happens. Or if he doesn't want to make the fight happen, that's cool too. Like, it don't matter to me, man. I'm just here. I'm here enjoying myself, whether I'm fighting in the UFC, whether I'm taking pictures, whether I'm covering it, whatever. I'm just enjoying life.
Outstanding. And after the fight with Punk, do you have any injuries? Or are you 100% ready to go once again? What's the status?
No, I'm 100%. I'm 100%. The only thing I just got done eating some pizza. I've been craving it, you know, for a little. See, I had the deep dish in Chicago, but I wasn't a big fan of it. Like, I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't my thing. You know, I like more New York style pizza. Yeah. And so I finally got that, and I'm good, man. I've just been eating. You know, I'm gonna take a few days off, you know, from the gym just to relax and sort of decompress and let everything kind of fizzle the way out. You know, I'm still trying to adjust back to my regular schedule before I even started training for the, you know, fight, because my life was different prior to training for the Punk fight. Yeah. You know, and so I'm sort of just getting acclimated back to just regular life.
All right, and we have seen fighters like Demetrius Johnson being involved heavily in gaming when he's not fighting. What do you do when you just have to unwind and sit back?
Man, you know, like a lot of my time, I'm traveling around either Texas or Louisiana or just, you know, different places around the country now, you know, working. So for me, it's mainly just taking pictures, and you know, I'm online most of the time. Either I'm on Twitter or you know, social media, whatever. I get to hang out, watch movies. I go out antiquing, you know, vintage shopping. You know, I'm a homebody, man. I just like to chill out and just have fun, you know, whatever it may be.
All right, perfect.
And eat. I'm always on a true food tour too, so I'm always eating.
All right, perfect. So one last question for you, Mike. Really appreciate you taking the time for us. When can we expect to see you back inside the cage? Even if UFC says, you know, we're not going to bring you back, do you plan to go on to other promotions and fight there? What's next for you?
Who knows? I have no idea. I literally have no idea. I haven't thought that far ahead. You know, I don't really plan that far ahead. That's not really my style. I just kind of go with the flow. So whatever happens, happens, man. You know, like I said, I'll be in Beaumont, Texas next week for LFA. So people, if they want to catch me out taking some of the dopest shots, you know, catch me on Access TV for next week.
All right, for sure. Fantastic. Thank you once again, Mike. We really appreciate you taking time for us. And we hope to see you back inside the cage very soon.
Man, thank you for having me. Y'all have a good one.
You too, sir. Have a good day. Talk to you soon.